Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I'm joined by Magdalena. She is an intuitive wellness coach specializing in shifting mindset, paradigms, and behaviors. She does a lot of other stuff. So I am super happy you're here. Thank you so much for coming on Spiritual Spotlight series. I'm really happy you're here.
I was so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So, can you tell us about your journey to becoming an intuitive wellness coach and maybe what sparked your interest in this field?
Okay, so it's a little bit of a long story, so I'm gonna tighten it up for you. I started I started in the health and fitness industry in
Nice.
2005. And that was really where I started to work with people. I started working with people intimately just because I was seeing people 3 times a week, like way more often than any of my friends or anything like that. So I started to learn about people, behavior, habits, healthy lifestyle, all of that together in that space for over 10 years. And in that time, I realized that most people actually don't need to focus just on their physiology, but they really need to find out what's going on up here so they can make everything else flow properly. So, through that experience, I decided, okay, I'm going to pursue the intellectual mind, see what's going on with mindset, see we can help shift some of those behaviors through mindset. And in that experience, I realized that there's so much more that's going on behind the scenes, behind what's going on in our actions and our behaviors. And it's all driven through beliefs, and it's all driven through spiritual connection because it's, those past lives, past experiences, everything. And it was like this quantum leap I did, which was going from physically training people to what is going on the other side.
Yeah.
Um, it's an area that I was always interested in because, I've always sensed things around me, people, spirits, and such. So it wasn't taboo for me in any way.
Nice.
Um, but I knew that the fastest way that I could help people was to bypass the mind
Mm.
and the body and really go deeper. So it was kind of unavoidable. I think that anybody who goes into the mind and how the body works, it's like your natural next step is to go into spirit and
So true.
like in my experience, yeah.
Such a good point. That's a really good point. So you have a diverse range of modalities in your practice, including NLP, hypnosis, and the body regeneration method. How do you integrate these techniques to create a holistic healing experience for your clients?
I find it's actually really simple because it's kind of funny because I use linguistics in a big way
Mm,
um, to not necessarily diagnose because that's not what we do, but to really decipher what's going on
mm,
within someone in particular. What's the issues that they're dealing with? How are they speaking to themselves?
yeah.
And then go deeper and deeper within them. And there's a lot that gets said that people tend to dismiss. Like
Mm.
they say something and it's like almost like a Freudian slip. And I was like, wait a minute, what was that? Like, did I catch that right? Did you just seriously say that about yourself? What was that? So when we catch those things, it's like those unconscious behaviors, unconscious patterns, and it leads into a deeper issue that is so easy to decipher when you use your intuition.
Yeah.
So we move a lot of the clutter of the mind out of the way when I just follow my gut. I've always found that um, whatever happened in a session, whether it was at the gym or with somebody one on one on live or in person,
Mhm.
virtually, sorry, or in person, there was this sense that I got that this is where I need to go. And then when I didn't follow it, that's when everything hit the fan. Yeah.
That's when it went off the rails. I,
Yep.
So with you've worked with nearly over 1,200 people, and I'm sure that number is higher now in your career. Can you maybe share
Mhm.
some particular memorable success stories that highlights the impact of your work?
There's a few. It's funny. I always work through my testimonials because I always am surprised at what people are able to accomplish. And one of the things I noticed is that like there's a common thread along all of my testimonials, which is if you like a no nonsense
Oh,
approach,
I like that.
um, So it's often like that no BS kind of approach that I have to working with my clients. But several of them, like one of my clients that's actually anonymous, like I call her Pamela, um, and you can see the testimonial on my website. And she talks about how she was actually going to go to IVF treatment on like the Monday, but talk to me on the Friday.
Hmm.
And so the Friday before that Monday appointment, she talked to me and we decided to work together. And she actually ended up bypassing IVF treatment
I love that.
completely and getting pregnant within less than 6 weeks of us starting to work together.
That is so amazing. Oh, I love that. That is such a
But
cool
it was work.
story. Oh, I'm sure it was work, but I mean, you probably had to clear out a lot of limiting beliefs and everything and really reprogram. Wow. I'm like having a moment. You can tell I'm thinking through. I'm
Yeah.
like, what all did she do? I love that.
Yeah.
What a great
Trauma.
story. Yeah.
Trauma is a big one, right? So we had to decipher where we could, what we can get, let go of, what we couldn't, because there was a
Mm,
court case going on actually that was ongoing. So, whereas you would use timeline therapy or
yeah.
hypnosis to be like, okay, let's remove you from this experience. Let's diffuse the memory a little bit. Let's make it a
Right.
little bit more subtle, a little bit more blurred. We couldn't do that.
Because it's current, it's present.
And she was going to testify. So we actually had to do all this while we're maintaining the memory and keeping that intact. So it was absolutely instrumental to remove the emotional aspect of
Yeah.
it, which again, with major trauma,
Right.
which
It's hard.
which is why she was holding on and guarding, which is part of the reason why she wasn't able to conceive at the time.
Well, congratulations to her and to
Yeah.
you. That's amazing.
Right?
I love that.
She did
So,
amazing.
body regeneration method seems to be a cornerstone of your practice. Can you maybe
Mhm.
explain what that is and how it differs from other energy healing modalities such as Reiki or body talk?
Yes. Well, funny enough, like a lot of people actually consider body regeneration to be similar to Reiki and body talk. Body talk actually has some similar techniques and tools. Absolutely. The biggest difference between um, body regeneration method and the others is that we really go straight to source. And I use the word God a lot in my practice,
Mhm.
and I always say, if that word doesn't work for you, replace it with the divine or however you want. But my
Absolutely.
intention is always to have the clearest connection.
Nice.
So with that in mind, I think the thing that makes body regeneration method really different too is you can really incorporate it with other modalities. So I'm not doing just Reiki, or not that it's just Reiki, but other
Hmm.
tools. You can really infuse them and connect everything and
Nice.
work really well with other modalities for sure.
So why would somebody book like a and I know you blend a lot of your other modalities, but if I was interested in learning more about body regeneration, like what would be a reason that I would book that appointment with you?
I think that for most people, it's going to be about feeling that something's slightly off,
Mm,
or not having any specific awareness of how to release a block. So this is where the cognitive aspect, like it aids us in discovering how to move forward. But
mhm.
um, again, when I I do tend to work in collaboration with all of these things together, but I'm always shifting the energy so that
Mhm.
way in the end you feel more clarity, you feel lighter. So
Yeah.
um the biggest thing is like it's almost like this resistance. You'll want to clear it when there's like, oh, I'm trying to move forward, but there's
Right.
something keeps me from doing so.
And let me ask you this, with that, if you're feeling resistance in life, like let me just give like I feel like a lot of people have like financial, money blocks and things like that. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have to be physical with the body. It could be something mental or emotional or even spiritual that you would do all of your combined modality healing work on.
100%. I always talk about it this in very specific, not a specific, in a general way. It's like I
Mhm.
think of it like a web, right? You pull on one string, everything is influenced, everything is affected. So even when you don't know what the block is, I always say it's just like let's start anywhere. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. specific, like anywhere will work because it will influence absolutely everything. And oftentimes that means, when something's said and I go, let's figure this out. Let's unravel this, untangle this.
Yeah.
And for fun, a lot of people go, oh, not that, you know? Yeah. And then I'm like, okay,
That's it.
here, here's my no nonsense approach.
I love how you put that. It's a web. And when you start pulling on the web, you can extract exactly what you need. I really like how you put that. That's fascinating. That's really
Awesome.
cool. I do. I'm
Yeah.
like, because it's in my brain. I'm like, ooh, I like that web. So you have your own personal struggles with body dysmorphia, bulimia, and depression. They have clearly shaped your path. How do these experiences influence now your approach to helping others?
I feel like there's a big part of it that's really empathic, empathetic, compassionate, because I can literally put myself in in those shoes,
Yeah.
where when somebody's having a struggle, and one of the big things that I'm noticing in a big way right now, there's a huge theme of self-rejection and not really experiencing the full love and acceptance of self.
That's
Um,
interesting.
find that's like everywhere,
Hmm.
and it can be found in little pockets, but a lot of the times it's front and center
Hmm.
at what I experience with my clients. If we had this level of acceptance of what happened, all of a sudden we have the entryway to accepting themselves, and it's really interesting because like that shows up in very surprising ways.
What would be an example that shows up, the self-rejection, that it shows up in a surprising way?
For example, when you're having, let's say, a conflict with family members. So you're having a conflict with family members, and perhaps you feel like the experience is unjust
Mm,
and that you're being wronged. Oftentimes, that level of betrayal that you're feeling with others is actually stemming from your sense of betrayal of you not holding your own boundaries, not holding yourself accountable, not expressing yourself. So
yeah.
you're actually projecting your own betrayal into another experience in your life. So
That makes perfect sense because it's almost like it's a mirror that's reflecting back to you. That's what's being triggered inside of you. So it's may not even the family members doing this to you, it's your own limiting beliefs and your own. Oh, that's fascinating.
and then when you shift the perspective around it, you're just like, wait a minute, maybe they're not a total jerk,
Maybe they're
you
not
know?
an asshole. Maybe they still are,
Yeah, maybe they are.
but maybe I'll react to them differently.
Precisely. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, very
Uh,
true.
I love that. So one of the things that you mentioned is that greater spiritual connection can help overcome life's blocks. Can you maybe elaborate on how you guide your clients to achieve this kind of connection?
I would say the biggest thing is getting out of, like, it's funny because I work on the mindset, and yet it's getting out of the mind, the internal blah blahs, the internal like criticism and the constant ego and just like the battle
Yeah.
within, right? Whereas when you start to again move into a place of more self-acceptance and peace inside of you, all of a sudden your intuition expands, and you can trust yourself again. And when you can trust spirit and yourself, like it's a mic drop moment, right?
It's limitless.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. So you just kind of brought this up. So mindset shifts play a crucial role in your coaching. What maybe are some of the common limiting beliefs that you encounter, and how do you help your clients transform them?
I think let me just tap in a little bit here,
Sure,
because
of course.
the theme, of course, is like when, and we see this
Hmm.
everywhere as coaches, is like the worthiness aspect of it. Um, but it's so funny because it seems like it's very vague and very general, but when you're discovering it within yourself,
Yeah.
it's very specific and it's very personal. And so eh,
That's
yeah.
interesting. I actually like how you put that, that it's it's personal and it's specific to you, because I think sometimes we get stuck in this, well, it's this, I'm not enough. Like something that's basic. And it's like, well, okay, well,
Mm,
what does that even mean? Like, you know what I
mhm.
mean? Like I have a fear of being seen. Well, why? I have a fear of success. Why? Like it's just
Mm,
like it's such a surface thing. And I like how you put that it's a personal thing and it's specific to what you're going through that you need to
yeah,
work on and you need to shed. That's
yeah.
fascinating. I like
And
that.
oftentimes the why of like, why do you have that
Yeah.
is actually less important
Mm,
than how do I transform that? How do I
right.
release that? Because I find that the why, like honestly, to me, it's like the why vortex. You just get lost within it because it's like all the reasons why and why and why. And
When I was
I'm like,
7, when I
who
was 5,
cares?
when I was 14, when I was 17, when I was
My
19.
mom, right? And I'm just like, okay, get over why. Let's just get through to how. How do we get to the other side?
And I like that because then you're also not putting your client in the cycle of, well, come to me and we'll dig deeper. It's like, no, let's
Mm.
get to the point and let's resolve this so you can move forward.
And there's always deeper,
Of
right? So
course.
it's like, so why waste time on the why when you could just get to the next level and the next
Yeah.
level and the
And
next
keep
level
digging in and
and you can
getting
expand?
right, up level, up level, up level, which kind of goes with like intuitive guidance. And I can tell, like as we're talking, you're kind of channeling it a bit and you're tapping in. So that's a significant part of your practice. How do you develop and harness your intuition in sessions with your clients?
Hmm. I'm like, practice.
Well, no, but you're right. Practice, practice, practice. Yeah. But
Yeah.
anything else?
Uh, anything else? I think as an intuitive, but specifically as an empath,
Hmm,
it's critical that I remain neutral. That
I
is
like that.
absolutely critical. And it's something that I made a lot of mistakes with in the past, you know, getting really involved with my clients' issues, you know, really wanting the solution for them more than they wanted it for themselves, or getting triggered by them. Yeah, I saw that face.
I'm
You're
like,
like,
as you're
oh,
saying this, like, so let me ask you this, as being an empath, how have you remained resilient and energized when you're around people that you're picking up on their emotions and maybe those emotions or feelings have a tendency to kind of bring us down? How do you shield yourself, protect yourself, keep yourself
I don't.
energized?
Oh, I
Mhm.
don't. I don't actually shield or protect at all. I think that that is a fight
Okay.
to be fought by somebody else. Because for me, I'm not in the game to fight. I'm in the
Gotcha.
game just to move through life. So I think that one of the things that we do as
Mm,
empaths is lean into others,
mm,
is to kind of tap in where what I personally do is I tap out and I cleanse.
I like that.
So cleansing all the time. So clearing, picking up what you're picking up,
Hmm.
discernment, you know, is
Is this
this mine? And
mine? Yeah.
yeah, how do I carry it? You know, but specifically, there are times that we can be overly curious. I am very curious.
I haven't noticed that about you.
Yeah, not at all. I was like, as we may have discovered, I'm very curious. And so, and I think a lot of empaths are, and that goes through the channel of like, they're feeling this. I wonder what happened. How did that happen? Where did
Mm,
it coming from? And it's again, it's that empathy, it's that compassion,
right.
and it's not channeled in a way that's constructive or beneficial to the empath themselves. So you have to put up your boundaries in a
Mm,
way that isn't shielding, but it's discerning. And it's
right.
saying, I don't need that.
So I
Yeah.
like how you put that you lean into it and it's not necessarily like it's knowing what your energetic boundaries are and knowing where you should and should not tap into. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
times that, ethically we should not be curious and seeking into somebody else's energetic field.
Percent.
So, and it sounds like you have very strong boundaries for that.
I mean, most times.
And I
Yep.
agree. I mean, we all have, we're humans and we have
Yep.
moments, but I find that interesting because sometimes when you're saying that I've encountered people and they're like, oh, And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Like, why are you taking on that feeling? It's not yours. Like, and I like that
Exactly.
you're, no, I'm discerning. Is this mine or is this someone else's? I'm feeling a little panicky. Why? Well, it's not
Yes.
mine and
Oh my
bye.
gosh. Landing a plane, like not landing a plane, but being on a plane that's landing. I can't tell you how many times I'm just like, okay, all right.
As you're
I
saying
have no
it, I
issues with
can
it.
feel it. I'm like, okay, yes, ma'am. It's not, the pilot is successful.
Yes. We can just chill out. Know that you're safe, people. Yeah, there's
I
been a
have to,
couple of flights.
oh, I have to tell you, you feel it. I'm feeling it in my chest and my stomach. I'm like, yes, it's
You don't
fine.
need it.
I'm like, it's
You
not
don't
mine. It's not mine.
need it.
Give it away.
Yeah. It's
As I'm
because
yelling at you.
your but your body remembers,
It does.
right?
Good point. Your body keeps a score. And that's why it's important with your body regeneration method and all of your other amazing modalities is that you're helping to shift that and pull it off. So that way you don't have to have that energetic reaction to that anymore.
And as you know, you were talking about your own
Mhm.
qualifications, you will know that like with the neural pathways, the more you
Mm.
feel that, the more you engage with this emotion or this behavior, the more difficult it is to break because you've got this worn in path. So
Oh, good point.
again, that discernment as soon as possible is really important, which means like you're going to be uncomfortable stopping that behavior at first, but that's okay.
It's okay. Do you find that we have in like I'm in the United States I'm not sure. I think you're in the United States as well. I could be wrong. She's like, oh, are you
North.
North? Where are you?
I'm in Alberta, Canada.
Our fellow Canadians. My son's Canadian, so there we go. We have that in common. So and I used to live in Canada, so that's really off topic, everyone. And I'm really excited now. But now I totally lost where I was going. Oh dear. It's okay. It will come back to me.
Yes, it will.
Well, it will come back to me. But anyway, let's move on to our next question. So with over 100, I'm like, no, I wish that was a good thought. With over 100
It'll come
live
back.
events, and numerous online courses under your belt. Oh, I remember now. We'll go back to it. What has been the most rewarding aspect of leading these sessions? So let me phrase that again. So she's led over 100 live events and I'm sure it's been more since then. What has with courses and everything like that, what's the most rewarding aspect of leading these events?
Um, I think it's actually seeing the humanity in people, seeing who we truly are as human beings. I think the distortion of social media and you know like media, big media, is that we're these
Fake
type of
media.
fake or not. It's like
It
it's
sways us to fear and
and
it's
drama
and
and
drama and false truths and false narratives. And yes, please continue answering. I apologize for cutting you off.
not at all. It's like I was just like I was trying to like I'm like let's not elaborate too much.
I'm in the
Um,
United States, so I can say
yeah,
it.
yes, you can. Um, so with us, well, not with us, but with live events, it's like you actually get to see what human beings are really like. You know, where we're
Mm.
just good-natured people that are trying to help each other out, and you know, there you're gonna have that person that flies by that's they're really self-serving, and then they'll just disappear,
Oh, I
and
love
you're
that.
like, okay, whatever. But in the end, you know, people come together when there where there's a need, people will literally swarm and go like, how can I help?
Oh, I
And I
love
love it.
that. I love that.
Hmm.
I love that. So back to what I was thinking is that it's interesting how so many people that they harp on they don't want to feel uncomfortable. But it's like
Hmm.
if you get uncomfortable and you move past that, that's where the sweet spot is. Like I find that a lot of it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's like, well, why? Well, I'd be uncomfortable. So what?
Well, that's going back to again, you're gonna know this, but you can be right or you can be happy.
I like that. You can be right or you can be happy. I love that. That's a good
Yep.
advice too. So
You know,
with such a busy schedule of live events and workshops, how do you maintain your own energy and prevent burnout while continuing to deliver high quality experiences for your clients?
I have slowed down. That's a fact. And I think that that's just come with parenthood
Mm.
and lots of life shifts and changes,
Mhm.
because I'm really passionate about what I do. It's really easy for me just to get swept up in my work, and
Yeah.
like because I love it. So I, I think it's important that I recharge and I do things
Mm.
for myself, and specifically I learning. I think it's the number one thing for me. It's kind of strange, but for me, an online course or some kind of personal development is a vacation.
I have to say, I appreciate that answer so much because I am always somebody who's always learning as well, and I find such enjoyment in that. And it's almost like my self-care. Like I thank
Yes.
you. I have chills. Thank you. Because sometimes I'm
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
should I really be doing that? But I'm like, why not? Why can't I expand my knowledge base and this and that? Like I always want to be learning, like, because thank you.
Well, also it keeps your brain healthy, so why wouldn't you?
Well, it's almost like my son and it's funny. I like to go for walks. And I said to him, I said, look, there have been studies proven that if you walk and talk, that you will ward off Alzheimer's. So now he's 15. I shared that with you. He'll be like, okay, mom, time to go for a walk so you don't lose your memory. Like, and I like that because we can connect, but I do feel like it's helping my brain to stay active.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, "You don't want to get amnesia." I'm like, "That's right. Let's go." Like, but it's important to stay active. For
Yeah.
anyone's listening, that's a way. If you walk and talk, it helps your brain and supposedly it helps you to not go into Alzheimer's. So, before I
Yeah.
ask you the last question, if anyone is interested in learning more about you, booking a session, anything like that, what's the best place for them to go to?
You can absolutely go to my website, holisticmagdalena.com. And if you want to just check out who it is and I'm really like, what am I about? And you
Yeah,
want to get to kind of know me a little bit better, your best bet is to go to my link tree where you'll see TikTok, Instagram. I've been posting a little bit more on TikTok lately, so you can have a better idea of the type of work I do and the type of person I am. Because you want to know if we jive.
absolutely. That's a very good point. It's a really good point. So, finally, what advice would you give to our listeners who are beginning on their journey towards holistic wellness and spiritual awakening?
Hmm. I think be flexible, pay attention, but be willing to just like go for the unexpected.
Mm.
Like really be willing to go in that direction where you're just like, I have no idea what this is going to do without having an attachment to a specific outcome,
I
unless it's
like that.
necessary.
I like that. I like that. I think we get stuck on the how. Like, how's this
Yeah.
going to come to me? How's this going to come to me? I like to
Mm,
be flexible and not stuck on the outcome unless it's necessary.
yeah. Unless the outcome is like the end all and be all.
Yeah.
There's there's so many ways to get to one direction or to one place. And I always come back to, you have to trust where you're at. You have to trust the journey. You
Mm.
have to trust the process. Now, having a good practitioner with you along the way helps.
A good
I'm not
mentor.
gonna lie.
A
Yeah.
good
Like
mentor.
I have a mentor.
Same.
I work
Yeah.
on myself, but I absolutely think it's necessary to be a coach.
I
Never
100.
trust a coach that's never had a coach. Never.
Very good point. And always check credentials. Like,
Yeah, credentials help.
they do.
Yeah.
Credentials help. They help tremendously. And I would agree with you. I am grateful and I know you're grateful that we've had many amazing spiritual mentors that have helped us along our path as well. And I'm sure even now to this day you're seeking out your next great, and you know what I mean? And same with me. I'm like, "Ooh, who's next? Who's
Yeah.
next?"
Yeah.
Amazing.
Or and just keep moving along to the path of where, you feel most aligned, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because I'm sure for you too, and the same, that was interesting. My alarm just went off, so they were
I
chiming into
heard
your
that.
point. I love that. So, but it's true though, because I'm sure, and same thing for me, like when I started on this path and where I am now, not at all what I would even think I'd be interested in or excited about or learn about. And it's always like, oh, that's fascinating. And then I like picking up a book that I read like 10 years ago and like, that hits different now.
I love that. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
few books that I'm like, yeah, it's like they call it living transcripts, right? The more you read it, the more
Yeah.
in depth it goes.
Big
So I
fan.
love that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming to Spiritual Spotlight series today. It's been a pleasure to speak with you today, and I look forward to see where the future brings us together.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you.